good, buddy?
What's up, buddy? How y'all doing, guys?
You're wearing the wrong damn colors, John.
Oh, man.
Listen, I did not think I'd get the invite back after what happened last year in the Cotton Bowl. I thought for sure.
Look, Rodney's already talking shit. I told you it'd take like 2 seconds for him to talk shit.
For sure you'll have lost my email. I texted your boss, Brad Kelder, and it took like 2 weeks to get a response back.
John, we tried to lose your email.
Yeah. I guess we're going to have him back on after the 34-30 miracle in the Cotton Bowl last year, brought on by this interview, I think, spurred us to victory. That being said,
you might be onto something. How are you, man? You look great.
I do look good. Thank you, Wags. Y'all look good too, except for the ugly orange.
Besides the hat, I'll say that.
Hey, this is a new hat, guys. I bought this at the OU Jimmy Austin Golf Club yesterday, just for this podcast.
Just for this show.
Yeah. So y'all would know I'm the Boomer in Boomer Bevo Podcast. That's why I brought it, because I know Texas fans need all the reinforcement visuals they can handle. So here you go, guys. Boomer Bevo Podcast. No, it's great to be on, man. I'm excited about this weekend. It is going to be so much fun.
So when are you heading? I guess down there. It's down there for you.
That's correct. It's the worst possible time to leave. My wife has decided that she has to have a couple of meetings, so we will get on the road at about 11 a.m., maybe noon, and there isn't a worst possible time.
Right.
It will take us 7 hours to get to the Omni in downtown Dallas from Oklahoma City, normally a 2.5-hour drive. So I will have Texas Sports Unfiltered streaming the entire time. How about that?
My man.
It's going to put like 5 hours onto that drive on 35?
It might not put 5, but it'll put 1 or 2 for sure.
It's going to feel like 5. It's going to feel like 5.
It's going to be miserable, man. I've done this now. If it wasn't for this game, I'd stay so far away from I-35, but I don't know. It's exciting though, guys. Listen, we're playing number 1 Texas. It doesn't get better than this. No, you guys are loaded.
And both of our first seasons in the SEC too, man. It's pretty damn good. It's a good little blend. It's a good little blend.
Well, look, the SEC is about to realize what the OU Texas rivalry is. Mm-hmm. You know, they've been touting the Iron Bowl and Georgia, Florida, and Tennessee, Alabama, and all these great games. And they are great games. Nothing compares to the Oklahoma, Texas game. It's second to none in the country, let alone the SEC. And I'm just excited. I'm excited to get to talk about it. We've had a great week up here in Oklahoma. I'm excited to talk about it with some Texas guys because I know y'all are bringing it this week.
Well, right. Well, before we get into our conversation and chop it up, talk to us a little bit about what the Boomer, or excuse me, I said that wrong. The Boomer Bevo pod has got cooking up right now.
Yeah, Kevin and I. Kevin is if y'all remember from last year.
I think they're wrong out of habit, man. You know that, right? Like
that's okay. That doesn't bother me.
Texas has to come first in our lives. So sorry about that.
Kevin is from San Antonio, Texas, like me. Unfortunately or fortunately, he's a dyed in orange Texas fan. We started working together back in 2018, and we've been talking about a podcast. It's now our 3rd season. So it's the Boomer Bevo Podcast. All we talk about all year is Oklahoma, Texas, Oklahoma. The man is like a savant when it comes to recruiting and remembering who guys came out of high school with back in 2002. He can tell you who a kid played for. He brings it every week, and it's just been a lot of fun. And we'll talk OU Texas football, basketball. We're not great baseball guys, but we'll talk softball, of course. And we just have a lot of fun with it. But you can talk. This is a rivalry, guys. You can talk about year round. That's what it means to the people for Oklahoma and Texas. This is a year-round rivalry. And we're just happy to get to do it. And it's just this is our Christmas. We called in our podcast last night. We said this is our high holy holiday, and we want to offend every religion possible because this is our high holy holiday. So if you're out there thinking, well, that's offensive, that's why we said it, because this is the level at which we're placing this game this week.
Love it, man. Bringing the chaos theory. We love it, dude. All right, well, yeah, let's dive into it, my guy. First and foremost, any surprises you think that's going to be happening out of this game? That's what I'll lead with first for the first question, and Rodney can get at you.
I mean, no. Look, what we saw last week in college football, we know anything can happen. What we know about the history of this game is anything can happen. More surprising to me is that it has been a 14-point line. I mean, Oklahoma's down, especially offensively. It's not a secret to anybody. But we still have a really, really good defense. We're ranked 21st or 22nd in the country. We are 4-1. We won 6 out of the last 7 of these games. We're not chumps. So the 14-point line, to me, is one of the most surprising things to come out of this week. In terms of what happens on the field, I don't know, man. If Texas plays their game and Oklahoma plays the game that they've played up until this point, I do think it's an easy win for Texas. Oklahoma is going to have to bring something to this game because up to this point, we haven't brought it to compete with what Texas has put on the field so far.
Yeah. Well, John, the one thing I wanted to ask you about, because with the defense, like you talked about, I mean, that defense has only allowed 1 rushing touchdown this season. And to that matter right there, only allowing 16 points a game. That, I think that's really going to be the key right there. And Sark talked about this earlier in the week to where Brent Venables, they're going to roll out stuff that you guys haven't seen yet. We haven't seen yet. You think there's going to be a shock factor in this? Because I think it's going to be all about early momentum for Oklahoma.
Well, I think it's good for Texas that if Quinn plays, because I think Quinn is the more experienced of the quarterbacks. He's seen a Brent Venables defense now 2 years in a row. Mm-hmm. Can we throw him some different looks? Probably, but I think, they can, to take a Big Brother reference, expect the unexpected. I think Quinn's ready for that. So I think that's an advantage for Texas. Look, this is year 3 in a Brent Venables system. Danny Stutzman, a Butkus Award finalist, Billy Bowman, a Thorpe Award finalist. We got the defensive lineman prize in the transfer portal with Dominic Williams coming out of TCU. The defense is stacked, and I think that they're experienced enough to really dial up some of those exotic blitz packages, the exotic coverages that we hope Sark and Quinn haven't seen. Kevin and I talked about this yesterday. This is one of the best matchups in college football. Sark's offense with Quinn and your offensive line and everything that Sark can dial up offensively, and then BV and his defense and everything BV can dial up defensively. I just hope OU's offense decides to show up to the party,
right?
Because I think the matchup offensively for Texas and defensively for Oklahoma, man, that's as good as it gets in the country right now.
No, I agree. And I was asked the question last night, John, if Quinn will have a tougher time, presumably if Quinn plays, if Quinn will have a tougher time against Venables' defense than he had against Wink's defense, against Michigan. So both dudes know how to disguise their packages and their blitz schemes tremendously, right? Of course, you're going to get different sub packages from Venables here too. But let's go to the other side of the ball, like you just kind of alluded to here. It's been a sputtering and a lethargic offense, but it was kind of like that going into the game last season for OU too, and where they were able to right the ship for Texas was they were able to gouge them and hash them or get them inside of the numbers and the hash marks there, right? They were able to use Dylan Gabriel with his legs and his wheels. It's kind of what you're probably going to see from Hawkins here too, and trying to, hopefully, keep that linebacking core, to I would say
occupied,
not just occupied, but playing downhill football, right?
Yeah,
consistently playing downhill football and not allow the quarterback to dictate what they're going to do.
So I've been asking Kevin this now for the last 2 weeks. Auburn actually used 2 spies on Michael Hawkins after that run. He had that electric 50-yard run to open the game where he was running away from guys, and we're talking SEC corner speed. Regardless of how good their defense is, they've got athletes, and he outran the what's the word I'm trying to think? The pursuit, the whole deal. And so after that, Auburn put 2 linebackers on him, and they can do that right now because we're not running the ball very well. So we do get Taylor Tatum back. He was not on the injury list last night. I think he's our best chance at a home run outside of Michael Hawkins from a running the ball situation. But the problem is, guys, he's still a true freshman. And you go into this game as a true freshman. We talked about it this week with Jalen Hurts, okay? Jalen Hurts went into this game in 2019 very arrogant, right? he was like, oh, I'm not worried about the Cotton Bowl. I've played in the Iron Bowl. I've played in college football playoffs. I've played in college football championships. I've played in SEC championships. They don't know what I know. Mm-hmm. And guys, you remember that game. It was a one-score game the entire time. And Jalen Hurts didn't look great. He looked a little rattled. He looked a little shook. And this is a guy that's gone on to have a really good career in the pros, probably in a losing effort in that Super Bowl, might have been the best player on the field. He was shook in the 2019 Cotton Bowl. And now we're trotting out a true freshman. Look, we're excited about what he brings. We're excited about his athleticism. We're excited about the future. I'm a little apprehensive about what it's going to look like on Saturday.
And I'll lead with that. What do you think you're going to see? What's the plan of attack you're going to see offensively from Oklahoma, or what do you think we'll all see offensively as the plan of attack from Oklahoma to this spiteful and tenacious defense of Texas here? That arguably one of the most improved secondaries in the damn league too, where you thought that they would be able to be vulnerable in their secondary, almost their Achilles heel, right? John, that's addressed. Where does Oklahoma go to now if they're looking to attack Texas?
Well, it's funny because I was concerned about Texas on the interior losing Sweat.
Sure, yeah.
And Murphy, and Byron Murphy. Those guys were good, man. And I was really concerned about your ability to kind of hold up. Dude, y'all have addressed that, and it's been pretty impressive. And
and you know what? We haven't really got too much interior pressure. Most of our pressure has come from the edges, right? But as long as you're just clogging up the middle and allowing your linebackers, and that's why this linebacker core has been tremendous, I think, so far. It's just because of how unsung and well the defensive line has played, the interior defensive line has played, that's been allowing them to scrape so well and make tackles freely. So, yeah, that's a great point too, John. Absolutely.
So the point, I guess the point I'm trying to make is we've been very conservative. I almost think out of fear of failure. The entire year, if you really watch our games like I do, it's been so many inside runs, and our offensive line just hasn't created any holes. But we just keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. And not to the point of success, right? Not that we're trying to set something up. I think we're doing it because we don't have a lot of confidence in anything else. What I'd like to see as an OU fan is get Hawkins on the edge, get Taylor Tatum on the edge, get us in space. I know your secondary is good in pass coverage. Let's try to make a tackle on the edge. Let's just try that, because I don't feel very comfortable taking on Anthony Hill, David Gabinda. Those guys have been playing really, really well. So I want to see Hawkins on the edge, giving him a run pass option outside the tackle box. And I think we have an opportunity maybe to make some plays. Look, if we get the running game going with the quarterback, we're going to be in the game. Yeah. We've seen the game plan from Mississippi State, which is just hold on to the ball. The problem is we haven't been able to create enough run plays to hold on to the ball and get first downs like they did against you guys. So we've got to hold on to the ball. I think getting out on the edge gives us our best opportunity. Even if it's picking up 4, 5, 6 yards, that's going to be better than anything we've done in games prior.
Well, and I got to tell you, because Hawkins doesn't make mistakes. That's the other part that really concerns me.
We sit there and keep harping on him being a freshman, Rodney, but you're right. Dude.
Yeah. John Whitson with us, Boomer Bevo Podcast. Be sure and check out their work. Talking about the running game, maybe some of the lack thereof it, and how important it's going to be to use Hawkins in that. How concerning is it to you guys? Because, you've got Gibson, Farouk, Nick Anderson, who scares the hell out of me. You got a lot of wide receivers on that injury report is out. So I think the focus is really going to have to be to try to establish a run game, John, that hasn't been there yet.
Well, it has. Okay, so we're getting to the point now where we now have a converted defensive back who did play in high school. Jacoby Johnson actually went to my alma mater in Mustang, Oklahoma. The guy's a playmaker, but he's been in the secondary for the last 2 years. He's been on special teams for the last 2 years. That's literally our next best hope at wide receiver. Is we're now at that point. Man. I really hoped we were going to get Deion Burks back. The injury report comes out with him questionable. Through 2 games of the injury report, we start to see a pattern where if you're on the questionable list, you're not playing. Right. So I just don't feel really questionable means unquestionably he's not playing. And so you don't know where that production is going to come from. Against Auburn, we started to have some really good success with our tight ends, Bauer Sharp and Jake Roberts. If we can see some of that happen, but you're right, it comes back to the running game. It was the running game last year. It's what Dylan Gabriel did to y'all last year. We did not get production from our tailbacks. We got running production from our quarterback. And if we can get that, we've got a chance. The problem for Oklahoma is they've got to do everything right.
That's kind of what it feels like. They got to play a perfect game and hope that Texas comes out and just sputters, right? And I'm not trying to. It's just but the line is 14 for a reason, right? And the buildings don't build themselves in Vegas, you know.
It's weird. All the 70% of the money's on Oklahoma, and I probably would err to that because I think the game's going to be closer if I was putting money on it. But the problem is Oklahoma has to have a 2 turnover advantage, right? They can't turn the ball over. They have to have a 2 turnover advantage. They have to win the running game, win the field position game, and win time of possession just to have a chance to beat Texas.
That's
just to have a chance.
Just to get in the fight. Yeah, that's.
I think Texas can. I think they're better positioned to absorb turnovers and whatever the case may be. That being said, we've seen what happens in this game. We've seen the momentum swings.
None of that matters. Yep.
It just doesn't matter, right? If we can get hot, if we can break some plays, turnovers. Look, Quinn, 3 turnovers last year. I know we're not expecting to see that last year, but let's just rattle them a little bit and give ourselves a chance.
Yeah, no, I agree. So, John, right quick, Wags. So do you think at some point that maybe Brent Venables, the offensive staff, do you think that maybe you go to Jackson Arnold? Maybe you just try to shake things up.
You little shit. You took my question.
Or are they going straight with Hawkins? Casey Thompson keeps popping up in conversations here in Austin. So
I was live on KREF Radio, home of Sooners coverage here in Oklahoma, and I talked to the voice of the Sooners, Toby Rowland. I asked that very question: if something happens to Hawkins, not that if he plays bad, I think it's Hawkins' job. I don't think there's any issue. But if something happens, I made the point I'd rather see Casey Thompson if he's healthy. We don't know the status of his knee. We haven't seen him. But guys, in 2021, he is not the reason y'all lost the game. He had a great game. I mean, he threw a go-ahead touchdown pass with 2.5 minutes to go to Xavier Worthy, I think with a broken hand. Kid knows how to – the kid can at least step in. Guys, Jackson Arnold, he's struggling for a reason.
Right.
Against Tennessee, might have been the 2 worst turnovers I've ever seen by any football team at any point ever in the game of football ever. Because, listen.
I don't know. Have you watched Will Levis and the Tennessee Titans lately?
I tell you, but it's where they happen, Wags. We turn over Nico Imalabea on the 5-yard line.
Yeah, that's
right.
That's
okay.
Look, you can't say
that. I'm not saying we beat Tennessee, right? But you punch it in from the 5. Holly Rose said that this was the loudest crowd she'd ever heard. And she's been all over the country, and she's got decibel levels approaching jet engines and stuff. I just say you make a redshirt freshman have to recover from a strip sack and punch it in and make it 10-10. It's a different ballgame. But instead, and he doesn't fumble it because he got stripped. He doesn't fumble it because somebody got a helmet on it. He runs into the crowd and fumbles the ball. And it's just, you can't do that. It's just maddening. Look, I think he's really talented. I think he's got an arm. He's a little shook right now. We're not going to see Jackson Arnold. If something happens to Hawkins, I think it's Casey Thompson's ball. I don't think anything's going to happen to Hawkins. Look, he has helicoptered into the end zone the last 2 games he's played, whether it was for a touchdown or for a 2-point conversion. The confidence that this team has in Hawkins, that's what matters right now. They believe he can go get it done, whether we as fans do or not. I think the team is behind him. And the dude's an athlete, so he's got to go make some plays.
Have you seen a number 1 weapon or a favorite toy start to emerge so far for Hawkins yet?
No.
His legs. His legs.
Yeah, himself. That's a great one, Roddy. Yeah, no. I mean, look, guys, look, you take away y'all's top 5 receivers. What are we talking about? I mean, any team takes away their top 5 receivers. It's a problem. J.J. Hester is a 5th-year senior. He 3 catches for 96 yards and a 66-yard catch against Auburn. A glimmer of hope. Yeah, I mean, he's a big, strong kid. Seems to be pretty fast. I hope that's his new favorite toy. I really hope Deion Burks was going to be that guy because he hasn't got to connect with Burks yet. And Burks proved himself explosive at Purdue last year and was really our best receiver through 4 games before he got hurt. I hope so by some miracle he makes it off the IR. I don't think he does. And so I think to Rodney's point, his favorite toy might be his legs, and it might be our best weapon.
Well, it was a good recipe last season, like you mentioned, for Dylan Gabriel. So, but here's the difference just that I've seen so far in the characteristic of this Longhorn defense. It used to be like 2 or 3 people flying to the ball and making tackles. Now it's almost every play to where nobody's taking plays off, or that's very rare scene, and you're seeing about 7 to 8 hats to a ball almost every damn play. And missed tackles used to be an epidemic for the Longhorns. That's a characteristic that seems to not be there or has eluded this Texas defense. So again, I think both defenses are tremendous here. I can't wait to see the matchup. Is what you were talking about between Venables' defense and Sarkisian's offense there. So
what does Texas fan think? So Oklahoma fan is trying to convince themselves that there's a narrative that Texas hasn't played anybody, even though you beat Michigan in Ann Arbor. They're saying,
but is Michigan Michigan?
Yeah, so that's what we're saying on our side of the Red River, right? Is, well, what's Texas done? We know they're good. We're not taking anything away. But have they been tested to the point that Oklahoma's been tested with Tennessee, then having to go to Auburn? We've been through the fire. We played 1-score games. All of this kind of thing. We're a little more hardened than Texas.
Oh, you can't deny that. Your all schedule has been ferocious. It's been awful. And I would say that Oklahoma is a little bit more a lot more calloused with playing a tougher schedule than Texas had. We'll keep it real, man. It's been cupcake. It's been absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you're talking about 50 points each week for a reason. Sure, you can't deny that. That's efficient football, right? Anytime you're putting up 50 points, that's efficient football, regardless of the opposition. But you can't sit there and lie or not be real about the opposition not being soft. But it's been sweet.
The difference for Texas is, though, and this is what concerns me as an Oklahoma fan, the difference for Texas is your point exactly. It has been efficient. There's been times when y'all have had a better team and you've gone into the fourth quarter with Colorado State, or you've gone into the fourth quarter with lesser opponents. That has not been the issue.
Right.
Mississippi State muddied it up and kept that a 1-score game for quite a while. And I think Oklahoma sees that and says, okay, how do we get on the right side of time of possession like Mississippi State? How do we muddy it up like Mississippi State?
How do you stay in just stay in striking distance, right?
Make something where a defensive score is the difference, or a special team score is the difference. I think that's where Oklahoma is looking at it as an opportunity.
John, and the one thing that I really go back to, and again, I think this is very much because I've heard a lot of the narrative, kind of what you're thinking, to where it's like, man, it's really hard to see how Texas isn't going to win this game. But at the same time, with the rivalry and records and all of that, like we said, none of that shit really matters.
No.
But damn it, this defense forces turnovers. And I think that's where, based on what we saw with some of the film with Mississippi State, that I think Brent Venables goes in there and tries to make this offense make mistakes.
Yeah. Oh, listen,
packages. Yep.
We've got one of the best turnover percentages in the country.
Absolutely.
In terms of turnovers created. And if it wasn't for the 3 that Jackson Arnold had in the first half against Tennessee, we would have the best turnover margin in the country.
You're like fifth in the nation.
And that's with some really stupid turnovers there. So, hey, listen, the word, I said it at the beginning, 3 years in a BV defense, very experienced players, very experienced playmakers, and talent, not just older, wiser guys. No. Danny Stutzman's going in the first round. Billy Bowman's going in the top 2 rounds. I think our corners could be a little vulnerable. I worry about Woody Washington on the corner. Mm-hmm. Strikes me as the last hanger on from a Big 12 defense, where everybody else is like moved on to the SEC. Woody's like, well, I'm still here, but I sure did like the Big 12 better. So I worry about that. But on the interior, Kip Lewis making that big pick, he's playing with a lot of confidence. R. Mason Thomas off the edge, I think is a good compliment to your guy, Colin Simmons. By the way, someone's got to tell him that he's a true freshman. You don't start talking trash.
He doesn't know either. That's just it. Like, no, I don't think he's got the memo yet. He's got to tone it down a little. He's making all these seniors look bad, man.
Yeah, you can't be coming out
bad, but he's definitely giving them some motivation to shoot for.
Now, if he comes out and balls out, hey, all power to him. I mean, I'm all for talking trash and backing it up, but it hasn't worked historically well in this game. So he just needs to just think about it. Save the trash talk for when you got the golden hat on your head. That's what I would say.
Yeah. Well, I will say from last year, when I saw that injury report, Gentry Williams being out, I'm like, thank goodness. Okay. Good.
Dude, he's our best corner, but he's injury prone. He was injury prone last year. Y'all started making hay against us. Quinn, I think, did Quinn go 24 straight passes without an incompletion last year?
Yeah.
When Gentry Williams was out.
I don't know if it was 24. I know he went over the 20 mark. I don't know if didn't know.
It was a lot. He looked, in the second half, Quinn looked like you want Quinn to look. That was the Quinn Ewers you wanted to see. So if that's the one we see, again, if y'all look like you're supposed to look, Oklahoma's going to be playing from behind all game. If we can muddy it up, make some things happen, make some talented breaks on defense, I'm saying we got a chance.
I got two more for you, John.
Yeah.
And I'll piggyback off of what you just talked about there. Can Oklahoma play from behind in this game?
I know, man, it would be tough. Look, we made a comeback against Auburn at Auburn, but this isn't Auburn, right? This isn't Auburn. I just don't think we have the weapons. I think it has to stay a one-score game for Oklahoma to have a chance. I'm not making this up. In 2021, y'all are up 28-7 at the end of the first quarter. Okay? Oklahoma fan, this is going to sound like BS, but Oklahoma fan is looking at the scoreboard and going, we got a chance. Like, if some things go the right way, we've got a chance to make this happen.
The hopelessly optimistic. Yes.
Yeah, and it worked out. Now, we knew in 2022 when we looked up at the scoreboard, we're like,
daunting.
Yeah. Hey, I turned to my wife and said, hey, you got that list of fair food we can go try in the third quarter? Because and I feel like that's the kind of game we're looking at this time around. If we don't keep it close, y'all get up 2 scores. I'm drinking red velvet beer, with 3 minutes to go in the third quarter. But we keep it close. We muddy it up. Hawkins breaks one. Listen, dude, if Hawkins gets in space, the guy's an athlete. He is dynamic. Might be the best athlete on either side of the field. And that's with a talented Texas team. But Michael Hawkins can go, guys. He absolutely can go. So there's hope. There's some enthusiasm, but there's a sense of reality.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's everything that you need going into a Saturday showdown, right? All right.
100%.
My last question for you, your prediction, your final thought.
I called 24-23 last night on our final podcast. Kevin and I put our final podcast out. He had 32-23. I had 24-23. So he's got Texas not covering based on the rivalry. I've got OU pulling out a tight one at the end. 24-23. I think it's going to be a crazy game like that if OU wins. If OU wins, I think it could be a nutso kind of game, which is similar to every game we've had for the last 7 or 8 years, minus 2022. We've had 4 overtime games. We've had games with fourth quarter comebacks that we've never seen before, like last year. We've had comebacks like crazy. Even the Kyler Murray game that y'all won was an unbelievable, unexpected game.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what the rivalry. That's why it's the best rivalry in college football.
Yeah.
It's not even close. Throw the spread out. Throw the rankings out.
Right.
There is legitimate hate.
I see this 14, and I'm not touching that. I ain't getting anywhere near that 14.
None of that stuff matters. I mean, it really doesn't when it all comes down to it. I mean, if you have one team that's down, I mean, you could have an 0-4 team coming in against a 4-0 team, and it wouldn't matter. You would still have a nail biter.
Look at the Charlie Strong year in 2015.
Bingo.
You're 1-3 or 1-4 going into the game. It is an epically bad Texas team. Oklahoma would go on to go to the college football playoff.
Yeah.
And we got spanked. I think in the 2013 in Max last year. I mean, Mac is literally walking out the door and could care less whether he wins or loses. We just come off a huge win at Notre Dame, and we get, and not just beat, Matt. Like there was nothing fluky about either of those wins. Y'all just beat us down. It can happen. It's happened. Listen, I love it, man. I absolutely love it. It's the greatest game of the year for a reason.
What are you guys going to be doing down there during the game? Anything crazy? You guys got any pregame ceremony set up or a pregame show set up?
The Boomer Bevo Pod does it. We'll be doing a recap on Sunday. Listen, man, I just want to enjoy the game. You know, we have put out a lot. Oklahoma fan has the Boomer Bevo Podcast has put out a lot of good content this week. We've really stepped our game up. We had former linebacker Caleb King Kelly on, who hates Texas unlike anybody I've ever seen. Like, it's kind of, I don't know, like on a psychotic level, like maybe needs to see somebody about it. So that was a lot of fun.
It's healthy.
My wife hooked us up with a member of the 1974-75 national championship team from OU. So I didn't know this gentleman. So I'm like, you know what? We'll take anybody. Guys, listen, he told the greatest. He was recruited by Darrell Royal. So we got to hear Darrell Royal stories. Then he starts talking about getting in the game in 1974. I've never heard this. Y'all tell me as Texas fans if you've ever heard this. So Switzer comes to him and says, "Hey, dude, you got to get in and block. You got to block the interior on punt coverage because we are getting blown up by this freshman on punt coverage." And I'm thinking to myself, well, golly, what freshman could this be? It's Earl Campbell.
Earl Campbell. Yep.
They got Earl Campbell on punt coverage.
Yep.
And he's on the interior. And it's in the story. He's like, guys, it was the worst block. I mean, the guy just lit me up. He's like, getting hit by Earl Campbell was like getting hit by a Mack truck. Yeah. And where did you get this stuff? I mean, it was just unbelievable. And then he goes on to tell a Leroy Selman story. He's like, and then I had to block Leroy Selman in practice, and I just got demolished. So when you can get Barry Switzer stories, Jimmy Johnson stories, Darrell Royal stories, Earl Campbell stories, that's a good podcast.
John, I got to tell you, John, one of the coolest stories about Earl Campbell, and this just kind of goes into what you're talking about right there with Bum Phillips. Bum Phillips, Earl Campbell's in camp for the Oilers, and he couldn't finish. It's a team thing. He had to run a mile, and he couldn't finish it. And they go to Bum, and they're like, well, are you concerned about that? And Bum Phillips says, if it's 4th and a mile, I won't put him in. I'm not going to put him in.
Listen, I made the comment to Kevin. If I'm having to block Earl Campbell, or God forbid Leroy Selman, I'm dead.
It's crazy.
Like, the air is blown out of my lungs, and it's like the scene from Little Giants where he's like literally buried in the ground. That's me. Those two are grown men. That's what this rivalry was built on: is Earl Campbell's thighs and Leroy Selman. And Texas fans listen. The cool part about this podcast, even since last year, and I think the Texas Unfiltered really helped this, we've got so many more Texas listeners. We really do. I know you're hearing me talk, and Texas fan is like, I do not want to listen to that dude. Listen, we got Kevin Miller brings it as a Texas fan. We talk a lot of Texas football. It's a lot of fun. So if you're a Texas fan and you want to get in the game, Boomer Bevo Podcast, YouTube, and wherever you get your pods.
Right. Now, Twitter at Boomer Bevo Pod.
At Boomer Bevo Pod, you can light me up, Texas fan. That's what we want this week.
John, I think that's what's the most intriguing thing for me when I watch is that, you know, I don't sit there and tune in for shiny, happy radio. I tune in to sit here and be the counterpoint to everything and be like, oh, you guys are crazy here. I actually turn in. It's not so much, I won't call it hate. Listening or hate watching, but I mean, again, shiny happy radio is dull, man. I want to have a little bit of contrast.
Kevin Miller is one of, if not my best friend in the world. I love this guy, and we've had so much fun doing this. But dude, we got after a couple episodes ago. I mean, it just devolved into two brothers just fighting and just going after it. And afterwards, I had to apologize. He's like, "No, man, it's just the show." But I kind of
passion. No, that's passion, dude.
We went after it. So it's so much fun. It's what this rivalry is about. It's what we're going to experience on Saturday morning at the fair. Half orange, half crimson. It's good. Listen, I told you this last year. I grew up in San Antonio, Texas. I know what this rivalry is about from all sides, and I can't wait to get there. I can't wait to see Oklahoma. One of the biggest upsets in the history of this rivalry. Let's take down number 1 Texas. That's what I'm fired up about.
I want the shit that you're smoking. If that's what you
Oh,
really
it's good.
think is gonna happen, brother.
We're legal up here in Oklahoma. You know that. Let's just come on up and get it.
Good stuff, John. Good stuff, my man. At Boomer Bevo Pod. Check him out. It's John Whitson, Kevin Miller.
Make sure you go follow this dude right now. Not just the dude, but go follow Boomer Bevo Podcast. Get in there and talk shit. He likes to come in here and talk shit to us. You go in there and talk shit to him, damn it. Hey guys, this has been so much fun. I enjoy it as always. I'm looking forward to next year. Let's make this 2 years in a row with OU winning. That's gonna be perfect. I'm gonna love it again. You had to end it with that, man. We were having you were actually on my Christmas card list, John. I was never on your Christmas. Wags, you have never sent a Christmas card in your life. I don't even know you, bro, and you have never sent a Christmas card in your freaking life. It's never ever happened. So don't even bring it. That's the worst thing I've ever heard. Hey man, we're definitely doing this next season, dude. You bring it best with the best of them, dude. Hey, best guys. Hey, if I see you down there, man, let's get a beer. Dude, 100%. Boomer.
Keep in touch, dude. There he goes, John Whitson. Good stuff right there. Boomer Bevo.
Dude, look, you want to talk? You get me. You want a trifecta effect? The three of us. Holy shit, we're probably all going to jail. Yeah, that'd be some good stuff. Be sure and check those guys out. He comes on just firing off at it, man. Be sure and check them out. Hey, before Jordan hops on right quick.